Hey guys, and welcome to the beginning of a new series we're going to be calling Refactorizing, and I am joined by ColonelWill.
Greetings. Oh wait, that's Zoe's. You're doing it all wrong.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's already patented, but by
Pound
Zuri.
heavy.
So yeah, this is going to be a series very similar to Fix It series, and I'm going to be having ColonelWill join me for the majority of this. Some episodes he may not be able to join, but maybe we can also get some guests in here. I know Demon Engineer wanted to join for a couple. So we'll see what happens. But yeah, so what's going to happen is, if you've seen Roots Fix It, this is going to be very similar. You guys will send in factories, and we will take a look at them and fix things that, you ask about, or if there's nothing specific, we will find some stuff and fix it up and get it working. So we're in a factory here submitted by Allanorn, and he didn't mention anything specific he wanted us to fix, but we did find several things on our list here that could use some changes and that we might point out just to avoid or do differently perhaps in the future.
Yeah, I just spotted another one while you was talking. This gear wheel factory doesn't do anything, and I think it's meant to feed this, so I was just gonna drop it down. Put power pole in, and that will work. And I think leads on to your box situation down here.
Yeah, so uncapped boxes. I think a lot of times, and this is one of those, it's just an oopsie. We have one uncapped box, so nearly 2,500 fast inserters here, 3,000 in the network total, and then another 2,500 filter inserters up here. And we're pretty sure this was an oopsie, but you mentioned, Will, which is a good point. It's all relevant to the size of the base. For a small base like this, that's a very, very expensive oopsie.
Yeah.
Like,
To the larger mega base, it would be crumbs, as you put it, or leftovers, or
right.
a couple of minutes production. But to a big base like that, that's costly.
Yeah. For a base
So,
like this is a very costly accident to have these
Yeah.
uncapped chests.
Yeah, and for anyone that didn't know, you can limit the chest manually right at the beginning of the game by just opening up the chest, and then the red X at the bottom, you can click and drag up and lock the box to a smaller size.
Yep.
And that will not let the chest overfill. So.
Yeah, very good point. So there's that one. And did you want to move on to oil at this point?
Yeah, we might as well. It's probably the biggest section to cover.
Yeah. So there's no oil.
Yeah. Yeah. The biggest problem is there's a crude shortage. It's just not enough pump jacks. But there's a couple of very easy, quick wins that you can do before you have to go build more oil outposts, so you can carry on working with other stuff. That is productivity modules. I found a box here of 50 level 2 productivities. Level 3 would be better, but 2 will do. Anything's better than nothing. I'm just going to pop them in the refineries, in the cracking, pretty much everything oil industry related. So plastics is a good one to have them in.
Yeah, and pretty much everything in the oil industry can be productivityed.
Oh, not speed and batteries. Oh dear.
Oh, geez. I mean, they are slow, but
Just build more of them.
yeah. And so yeah, what this does, obviously, for anyone who may be wondering or is newer to the game and stuff, which is kind of what this series is for, is if you're struggling, this is going to slow everything down, which you may think is bad, and I mean it is slower, but this is going to get you a lot more product for the same amount of oil, if that makes sense, right? So we're productivitying every step here, and that is a lot. So we're getting extra products here, and then those extra products plus what's made already is getting put into the stuff which also gives extra products for the same input, so on and so forth, all the way down the line. So this can really extend what little bit of crude you are getting.
Yeah, and it's definitely worth just putting level 1 productivity in. There's nothing wrong with that at all. If that's all you've got, just swap them over as soon as you're experiencing a crude oil shortage. Just get the productivities in, start with the refineries and just work your way down the line. Replace them as and when you can, as soon as you can. Another way of improving oil is also putting speed modules into the pump jack. So productivity in all of the base stuff, speed modules in the pump jacks, and that get you more crude in the first place, which has already been done on this map. We checked.
Yeah, and another note about that is when to put speed on. You typically don't really want to speed your pump jacks like right off the bat. It's usually good once they get below a threshold. Do you remember what the number was?
It's 0.7, I believe.
Okay. So once it gets below that, then it's usually a good idea to stick speed in if you're having oil problems.
Yep. Also noteworthy that this is likely to change in version 15. So if version 15 is out, pretty much ignore what we said. It may well have changed.
Yep, very good point. So the next thing, because there's something with the oil outpost to change, but there's a thing here with with tanks. Me and Zuri and in Will and stuff have all said we don't like tanks, and there's going to be an argument both ways. But we're going to explain our reasoning here, which hopefully will make sense and kind of explain why tanks are not a good thing.
Yep. Am I doing it?
Yeah, you can. You explained it really well, like, when we were talking, so...
Okay. All right. So the way I look at it, and Zoe may disapprove of the way I explain it, but the reason I don't like heavy tanks is if you see the pressure here on the tank coming in, the pipe's empty, and on the pipe coming out is also empty. But if you look in the tanks, there's 2.6 to 5-ish in each one. Now, if these were only one tank, then the other 7 or so would have been forced out down that pipe a long time ago. It's very small numbers, but I think the petroleum's got 260 in each tank, but very low pressure going down the output pipe towards the plastic. Well, it's just backed up now.
Right.
The space finished making whatever it's making. But yeah, you have all this stuff sitting around in tanks that will not get forced out down the output pipe. So you have to pump more in to get it going out again. So you just have one tank, if any. 0 would be better, but...
Yeah, and the crude is actually a really good example for this. So, I mean, just like you explained, you look at these pipes, and, there's like not even one in the pipe, right? But these tanks have, like, total 800 or so in here. Each one has like 150, 160, and... I mean, just like you said, if this were one tank, all that extra, like 400 or 500 would be in one tank, which have already been forced out the pipe, instead of sitting here at this low pressure and barely making it out of the pipe.
Yeah, definitely. Which could be the difference between your power armor and not having your power armor.
Yeah, exactly.
Or whatever you're waiting on.
Yeah, and...
Yeah.
Yeah, and one last thing is the acid tanks. So me and Zuri in one of our workshops went over this and like really harped on why this is bad. So the best way I can think to explain it is we have 10,000 acid here, nearly, almost. This is that much or more petroleum, based on the conversion rate, that can no longer be used for plastic, right? And plastic is one of the heaviest petroleum users that you're going to need. You need it for red chips and science, and the red chips are used and stuff. This is that much petroleum that it's just now no possibility whatsoever of being made into plastic. And it's just sitting here and not really doing much. Like, it's just kind of a waste. It's kind of a waste of petroleum that could have been used for more important things.
Yeah, I've actually recently been sold on that, like 5 minutes ago. No more acid tanks for me, ever.
Ever, yeah.
That's it.
No tanks.
No tanks. I spotted a problem with the Roboport network. I don't know if it's just in its infancy, but there's provider boxes up here with inserters and stuff in them, but we're not in the Roboport network for logistic bots.
Yeah, it's only like on the bottom half of the base.
Yeah, which is kind of where it needs to be, because that's where the make everything factory is down the bottom there. But there's provider boxes, so obviously these were intended to be in the network, and they're not. So I'm just going to plonk a web report down.
Okay.
Just continue to grow your web report network out and try to avoid the green gaps between them.
Yeah, definitely.
Your bots will lose you when you jump across it. And that can be annoying when you're requesting stuff.
Yeah. So, I think the next thing is the actual oil outpost.
Yeah, there's some signaling issues with the junction, and you were going to redesign the outpost itself, I think.
The train loading is a little wonky.
Yeah, I'll fix the junction first because I know you and trains have issues.
we have a pretty off relationship.
Yeah, I just have to recalibrate my brain because this is drive on the right and I'm normally left. But so trains are going to come up from down here. So because this track here is crossing this other main line, this needs to be a chain signal here.
Right.
That would also be a chain if you was doing it like that. So then the outbound would be a chain normal on the way in, chain on the way out. Don't actually need that. There's an extra piece of track. Oh, never mind. You do need that. Ignore me. And that one.
Right,
that
because
works.
It does the same job.
Yeah.
Okay, so that should take care of that, right?
Yeah, you could try and squeeze a signal in here so a train could leave and arrive at the same time, but it's only a one outpost station anyway, so a train can't enter until he's left anyway, so it's fine.
Yeah.
You could also simplify it, actually, just as it is only an oil outpost. There we go. That's even simpler to understand.
Perfect. So now on to this. So what's happening here is he's kind of like using the train as the storage, and the train is unfiltered, which in this particular case actually kind of works, because since it's just pulling the barrels right out of the train, it's like, like replacing the space where the empty barrel was with a full barrel. So that's okay-ish, but the main problem is that there's no storage, like no box transfer thing in between, and what this means is that none of this can actually work unless a train's sitting here, because that's obviously where the barrels are coming from. So without a storage system on site here, this just doesn't do anything unless a train's here, which really lowers your throughput, because, it can only work when the train's here, and then the train has to sit here for it to actually work.
Yeah, and we've got the tanks again, which is the same problem. I've got about 20 in each tank, which is 4 barrels, just never going to leave. They're just going to permanently get stuck in these tanks.
Yep, and
and also that unfilled train will deadlock with empty barrels. If he arrives with a full wagon of empty barrels, they won't be able to clear a slot in the wagon to put the full ones in to start that system. And I think it's only working at the moment because there's only one outpost. As soon as you add a second outpost, inevitably all the empty barrels will end up on one train.
Yep.
And that will... like that. That will deadlock the train eventually with empty barrels, and it'll just sit here forever, and you may not even notice, especially when you have multiple outposts, that one of them is not actually running.
Yeah, exactly.
So we're going to rebuild it?
Yeah, and also this is a bit overkill in terms of the barrelers. So I'm just going to get rid of all of these tanks.
Okay, yep.
Because, here's so on your outpost, you don't actually want any tanks, because, you're using barrelers if you're doing it this way via train, and your barrels are essentially your tanks, except better. So
Yeah.
it's kind of redundant to have tanks and barrels.
I would say one tank just to allow for a train deadlock.
Yeah.
But then just have it off to the side, like I was saying earlier.
Did I put those too far away? No.
Yep, that's fine. I'll need to make a filter.
Yeah, we'll need some filters here.
Just crafting them now.
Alright. And also, another quick note for throughput. Underground pipes are better because pipes have a limited throughput amount based on their distance. So the longer your pipe length, the lower throughput it's going to have essentially, or the lower throughput it can support. And underground pipes essentially only count as 2 for an entrance and exit, even though they cover like however long it is, 9-10 tiles. Whereas this entire underground, well, actually he does have most of it underground, but he could still save some by undergrounding this as well.
Yeah, it's also good for UPS on large maps because an underground pipe is one entity per end, so you can have 10 tiles covered for 2 entities, whereas if you use normal pipe, it's 10 entities for 10 tiles.
Yeah, exactly.
So I was gonna say I filtered, set the inserter to take only empty barrels out, so it doesn't take the full ones back out of the wagon, otherwise it'll break the system.
Right.
I've also filtered the wagon for half full barrels and then left the other half unfiltered, so when it goes back to the station, it'll fill up with half of empty barrels, but won't be able to fill up the other half, so it will never deadlock. But I've not filtered the empty slots, so that if for some reason there happens to be extra crude oil barrels here, it can take them back, because you can always want to take extra crude because they will get unloaded.
Right, yeah, that's a really good point, actually.
Yeah, I did that way back in the Mega Race. It's been around a while.
Yeah, for sure.
It should never have more crude oil than it brings empty, but in the event that it does, you might drop off empty barrels sometime or whatever.
Yeah. So what we've achieved here, right, is if we send this back to the base, let's just hypothetically say that it reached... Holy hell. Well, there goes that. See ya.
Bye, train.
Bye, train. Oh my gosh. Well, that's unfortunate. I guess I'll just manually move this, just for example. So let's just say this train left, right? With this system now, this can still work, even though this train is not here. So the whole time the train's traveling back, unloading, getting new barrels, and traveling back to here, this can actually fill up more barrels that are ready when the train gets here, rather than having to, like, only be able to work when the train's sitting here and delay the entire process. And he did actually do a good job of this, though. All our pump jacks are speeded.
Yeah, I think it's level 2. I mean, level 3 would be obviously nicer, but 2 would definitely do for now. 60% per pump jack.
Yeah, which adds up.
The next step would be level 3, obviously, and then if that's still not enough, you could look to beaconing it if power's not a problem for you. Although before I'd beacon, I'd probably build a couple more outposts.
Yeah.
And then look to beacon them.
Yeah, and that can make a huge
nothing
difference.
wrong with this at all. Oh, a point to probably mention about oil outposts: try and avoid pipe loops. So only give the oil one way to go that's out, leads out. Don't let it connect back up with itself, because fluid works weird in Factorio. It doesn't go the way you think it would or want it to. It could end up just going round and round and round and round and round in a loop and never actually leave.
Actually, that's an extremely good point. I should probably do that more too on mine, is avoid the loops, because
Yeah,
Yeah.
it'd just sit, just like the storage tanks. It'd just sit in this pipe and never figure out that it actually needs to go down here. It just gets stuck.
Yeah, exactly. Very, very good point. So, really, I mean, this has been, I think, pretty long. I think that covers the main things we wanted to talk about. Mostly this is kind of just an introduction episode. So, just the last couple things I want to go over in terms of the submissions and the process for that is mainly okay, so first of all, the main rules for this is submitting unmodded maps, or at least maps to where we can load it in vanilla and the base will still work. If you're using, Farl and Evo GUI and stuff, that stuff is fine, but we need to be able to load the map in vanilla and have the base still work perfectly fine. So unfortunately, sorry guys, unfortunately no boss mods, no angels, no die tech, no anything like that changes how your factory is going to work, because that just makes it difficult for us. It makes it harder to fix, harder to load in, so on and so forth. So please, pretty much vanilla, and preferably, I think somewhat recent maps. I mean, within the last, maybe 6 or 7 months, if it's stuff that, is like a year or two old, anything we fix, those concepts aren't even relevant anymore. And then the submission process itself, what I'm going to do is that there's going to be 2 main ways to submit these, to try to make it simple for you guys and myself and Will. I'm going to set up an email specifically for this, which I will have in the description when this actually goes out. Send it either via that email and, the map save, like on a Dropbox download or something, and information with it. And then the other way is going to be, I will set up a specific channel, text channel on my Discord where you can submit it as well. And those will be the 2 main ways, because doing it in the comments just makes it hard and confusing, because YouTube eats the comments randomly, and that just is never fun. So those are the 2 main ways. And yeah, so you and I talked, Will, and we're pretty much looking for stuff, people who are struggling with parts of their factory or concepts in general, things they'd like us to look at.
Yeah, because we can. I could fix all manner of things. I'm just satisfying my belt OCD here while you was talking, because it bothers me, but it doesn't stop it functionally working. But I get a lot of people in my chat struggling with their oil builds, or there's a lot of signal problems on Reddit at the moment. People are trying to learn trains. So if you're having a particular problem with an area of your base, let us know when you submit it, and we can look just at the trains, and I'll just ignore the factory itself. We'll just look at signals, or if you've got a massive power problem, I can fix your power plant, that sort of thing.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, very well explained. So when you submit your factory, how, which either way you do it, if you have specific things you want us to look at, please, put that with your thing, explain what you'd like us to look at. If there's nothing specific, that's fine too. We'll just pick some things, but, if it's a perfect, well, there's no such thing as a perfect factory, but, if it's a super good, 200-hour factory, not necessarily what we're looking for, just because there really may not be that much to do besides just, OCD stuff.
Yep, I could do OCD stuff all day, but it gets boring to watch. I think as Root found out when he did his, there's only so many times I can fix a corner of a belt.
Yeah. So I think that'll do it. Hopefully you guys look forward to the series. We look forward to it, and would love to see your submissions. And, any feedback you have, suggestions, ideas, put them down in the comments, and go check out Will's Twitch channel. You stream almost every day.
About 5 days a week. Take Saturday nights off, usually on most of the other nights. Always open to questions as well. If you want to just get an instant answer, just submit a picture on my channel, and there's usually lots of people in chat that know the game, so they can help you out with little problems there on the spot. I can quite often recreate something as well and show you live on stream, but it's a lot easier to fix something if you can get into the map and see it, so this is a good chance for me to fix some problems in person.
Yeah, for sure. Well, there we go, guys. that'll do it. Love to hear your thoughts. Hope you look forward to it. And until next episode, where hopefully we will be doing another submitted map, we will see you next time.
Bye-bye.